Story 1. I always thought haunted houses were just stories, things people made up to scare themselves. Until I lived in one. I was 13 when my family moved into the house my parents still call their dream home. It was older, with narrow staircases and wallpaper that felt like it was clinging to the walls out of habit. But there was something off about it from the first day. A heaviness in the air, like the house was holding its breath. The first time something happened, it was small. A picture frame fell, not dropped, not knocked, just fell from the center of the wall. My parents blamed loose nails, stress cracks, gravity. I wanted to believe that too. But then the knocking started. Every night, around the same time. From inside the walls, sometimes under the floorboards, sometimes behind the headboard of my bed. 3 soft raps, perfectly spaced, like someone asking to be let in. I tried to ignore it, until the night the bed moved. I woke to the sensation of being gently shaken. At first I thought it was a dream. Then I realized my mattress was lifting, rising, tilting, as if something underneath it was trying to roll me off. I screamed for my parents. They ran in and turned on the lights. The bed dropped flat. Everything was still. We told ourselves it was the frame shifting, the house settling, anything except what it truly felt like. But the house didn't care what we believed. Things escalated. Furniture scraped across the floor upstairs when no one was home. Doors slammed hard enough to rattle glass. Cold spots appeared in random corners, spots that made your breath fog in midair. Then came the voices. Not whispers, not echoes. A low, hoarse muttering from the corner of my room when the lights were out. Words I couldn't fully make out, but always angry, always impatient, like someone arguing with themselves. The night that broke me was the night the dresser slid. I was lying in bed when I heard a deep, dragging sound. Wood against wood. I watched, frozen, as my dresser scraped across the floor, slowly blocking the door. Like something didn't want me to leave. I didn't sleep that night. Investigators came eventually. Skeptical family friends. Then a priest. Then a local researcher who had studied haunted house cases. He recorded audio in the house. Later he told my parents he'd captured knocks responding to his questions, in patterns that shouldn't have been coincidence. We moved. We left everything we couldn't sell, and we didn't look back. For years I tried to rationalize it. Stress, sleep paralysis, old buildings. But then one day, I stumbled across articles on the Enfield poltergeist. Witnesses describing furniture moving by itself, disembodied voices, knocks responding to questions. And my stomach twisted, because they were describing my house. Or at least, something like it. Sometimes, late at night when the house is quiet and the world goes still, I swear I can still hear those 3 gentle knocks, like something finally found where I went. And it's patient. It can wait. Story 2. People always say a house has a personality. Ours hated us. We learned that the first week after moving in. Light bulbs blew out constantly, not flickered, not dimmed, exploded with sharp pops that left the smell of burnt metal in the air. My dad blamed the wiring. My mom blamed the brand. Then the stairs started fighting back. Every time someone walked up or down, you'd feel this push. Not strong enough to knock you over, at first, but firm, persistent. Like the steps themselves were irritated at being stepped on. Then came the bruises. Dark circles appearing on our legs, hips, shoulders, places that matched perfectly to the width of the stair rail, except none of us remembered bumping into anything. One night I slipped. I wasn't running. I wasn't distracted. I just felt a sudden force shove me between the shoulder blades. I went forward hard, caught myself at the last second. But the feeling stayed with me. Pressure, disdain, like the house had hands. We found out later, not from the realtor of course, that the previous owner had fallen down those stairs and never walked again. After that, the house stopped pretending. Cabinet doors slammed when we entered the kitchen. The front door unlocked itself at night, every single night, no matter how many times my father bolted it. Sometimes we'd wake to every window open a crack, letting cold air creep through the house like a warning. And the whispering, that was the worst. It wasn't words, just a low hiss, like the house was breathing through clenched teeth every time we touched something, every time we existed there. We sold it eventually, took a loss, walked away. But I still drive by sometimes. And the strange thing is, it looks peaceful now, calm, almost happy, like it's waiting for someone else to move in, someone new to reject. Story 3. I didn't believe the rumors when we bought the property. They said the house chose who could stay, that it kept the ones it liked, and removed the ones it didn't. We joked about it at first, nervous laughter echoing in empty rooms while we painted walls and laid down rugs to make the place feel like ours. The first sign was the missing things: keys, glasses, shoes, always disappearing from wherever we left them, only to reappear in strange places, balanced on bookshelf edges, sitting in the center of the stairs, arranged in neat, quiet piles by the attic door, as if someone were organizing us. Then the dreams came. All of us had the same ones. Walking through the house, room by room, following a faint voice that sounded almost kind. Almost. We'd wake up in different places from where we fell asleep. Once, my husband woke up standing in the hallway, eyes open, body rigid, like a puppet waiting for a string to be pulled. We told ourselves it was stress. It wasn't. The night it chose was silent. We went to bed like normal. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. Slow, heavy, unhurried. Then the bedroom door opened, all on its own. I knew, deep in my gut, that if I moved, if I acknowledged it, something would change. So I lay still. The footsteps came toward my side of the bed, stopped, waited. Then a whisper brushed close to my ear. Stay. Just one word. I don't know how long I lay there without breathing. In the morning, my husband was gone. No note, no sign of struggle, his key still hanging by the door, his shoes neatly lined up. Police searched, friends helped, posters went up, but the house felt calmer afterward, like it had gotten what it wanted. I still live here. And some nights, I hear his footsteps upstairs. Slow, heavy, unhurried, like he's walking the house room by room, making sure we stay. Story 4. I visited the house because I thought the stories were exaggerated, tourist bait, urban legends dressed up in Victorian wallpaper. But some places don't need to perform. They just exist. The Winchester house was beautiful in a strange, unsettling way. Endless hallways, doors that opened into walls, staircases that led nowhere. It felt less like a building and more like a maze designed to confuse something that was following you. I didn't believe in that kind of thing. Not really. But the deeper I walked, the heavier the air felt, like the house had gravity. Like every step forward was harder than the last, not physically, but emotionally, like I was trespassing into someone's grief. At one point, I got separated from the group, just for a moment. I turned a corner and found myself in a small room with a single window, and I felt it. The sense that I wasn't alone, not watched, not threatened, just observed, studied, like the house itself was curious about me. I heard soft footsteps on the floor behind me, slow and deliberate. But when I turned, the doorway was empty. The feeling grew stronger, pressing against my chest, not painful, but impossibly sad. I left the room, rejoined the group, smiled, took pictures, pretended everything was normal. But that night, when I closed my eyes, I dreamed of hallways, endless hallways, doors that went nowhere, and a presence just behind me, always just out of sight. Always a step behind, never touching, never speaking, just watching. And I woke up crying without knowing why. I don't tell this story much because nothing dramatic happened. No slamming doors, no apparitions, no screams in the dark. Just that quiet, crushing sense of a house built out of sorrow. A house that didn't forget. A house that didn't sleep. Some places are haunted by ghosts. Others are haunted by memory. Story 5, I should have said no when they asked me to house sit. But I needed the money. It was an old place, tall windows, long curtains, wood that creaked like it remembered better years. The couple told me their only rule: don't open the locked room at the end of the hall. Easy enough. The first night was quiet. The second wasn't. I heard movement upstairs, soft footsteps pacing back and forth above the living room. I assumed it was the house settling, old foundations, air vents, all the logical explanations you give yourself so you don't go crazy, until the footsteps stopped directly above me and stayed there for hours. The next night I heard the doorknob to the locked room rattle, slowly, gently, like someone testing it. I didn't sleep. By the fourth night I was shaken enough to call the owners. They brushed it off. It does that sometimes, they said, as if that explained anything. That evening, I sat on the couch and stared down the hallway. The locked door was just visible in the dark, a faint outline, a quiet accusation. Then I saw the shadow. It moved under the door, pacing, back and forth, back and forth. Like something inside was restless or impatient. I left every light on that night. The house hummed softly, breathing, waiting. On the last day, curiosity finally cracked me. I walked to the door, rested my hand on the knob. It was freezing, colder than the rest of the house, and for a moment, I swear I heard breathing on the other side. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady, human. I stepped back, didn't open it, didn't look inside, and when the owners came home, I didn't ask, I just left. But sometimes when I'm drifting off to sleep, I hear that soft pacing above me, that quiet, patient walk, back and forth, like something still hasn't given up. Story 6. I never believed houses remembered people, not until I moved into one that clearly didn't remember me. The place had belonged to an older woman who'd lived there for decades before passing away. The realtor said it gently, like it was just a sad little footnote and not the beginning of something much larger. The house was dated but cozy. Old carpet, heavy drapes, the faint smell of lavender even after we scrubbed the walls. The first thing I noticed was the kettle. Every morning, when I came downstairs, it was already sitting on the stove, not plugged in, not boiling, just waiting. I asked my partner if he'd left it there. He hadn't. We kept moving it back to the cupboard. Every morning it returned, then the chair by the window started turning, just a few inches at first, then a little more, until one day, I came home and it was angled perfectly toward the garden, like someone had positioned it for the best view, like someone had been sitting there, watching. Days blurred into weeks. Things moved back to where they used to be, not where we kept them, but where the previous owner must have. The house slowly rearranged itself like it was correcting our mistakes. The hardest part was the footsteps, soft, measured, a slow shuffle through the hallway late at night. I always heard them pause outside our bedroom door, like whoever it was didn't want to intrude, like this was still their home, and we were the intruders. The moment that broke me came one night when I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs to make tea, standing half awake in the kitchen with my hand on the kettle. Behind me, a gentle voice, so soft I almost thought I'd imagined it, said, "Thank you." I didn't move, I didn't breathe. But I knew, in that instant, the house wasn't angry. It was lonely. And the kettle, the chair, the footsteps, they weren't warnings. They were habits, ghosts of routine. We stayed another year. Nothing ever tried to hurt us, but the house never felt like ours. Not really. It felt like we were borrowing it from someone who still lived there in the quiet spaces between footsteps. When we finally moved, I left the kettle out on the stove. Just once. Just in case she needed it. Story 7. When I was a kid, my grandparents' house terrified me. And not because of how it looked, because of the attic light. It was an old bulb hanging from a cord, visible through the little square vent above the hallway. And every night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., it turned on. Every night. Without fail. Grandpa said it was wiring issues. Grandma said it was nothing to worry about. But nobody ever went up there when it happened. Until I did. I was 14. Old enough to be curious. Stupid enough to be brave. So one night, when the light flicked on at 2:17, I got out of bed and climbed the narrow ladder. Every step creaked, slow, careful complaints rising into the dark. The bulb glowed dimly, just enough to reveal dusty boxes and shapes draped in sheets. The air felt heavier up there, thicker, like I was breathing history. Then I noticed the chair. It sat directly under the light, facing the hatch, like someone had been sitting there, waiting. I told myself it was coincidence. Old placement, storage, anything that made sense. Then the bulb flickered, once, twice, 3 times, and went out. I stood there in the dark, unable to move, my heart thundering so loudly I swore it echoed in the rafters. And then, right beside my ear, I heard the soft sound of wood creaking, as if someone else had leaned forward in their chair. I didn't scream, didn't run. I climbed back down, rung by rung, feeling that unseen presence hovering just behind me, not close enough to touch, but close enough to know it was there. The next morning I asked Grandma, who used to live in the house before them. She said gently, "This was my father's house. He used to sit in the attic every night, said it was the only quiet place he had left." I never went back up there, but every so often, when the world grows still, I think about that chair and the way the attic light always turned on, not to scare us, but to remind us someone still kept their routine. Story 8. Some houses don't let you forget them, even when you leave. I grew up in a small white house at the end of a quiet street. By the time I turned 18, I couldn't wait to leave. Too many rules, too many bad memories, too much silence trapped in the walls. I didn't go back for years, not until my mother passed and I had to clean the place out. Walking in again felt like stepping into a preserved version of my childhood. The same photos, the same furniture, the same faint smell of dust and old books. But something felt different. The house felt aware of me, like it had been waiting. That first night, I slept in my old room because there wasn't anywhere else. I told myself the creaks and sighs were normal. Old houses make noise. But around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft, slow, steady. They stopped outside my door. Then the handle turned, just slightly, as if testing whether I'd locked it. In the morning, nothing looked disturbed. But when I tried to pack, things kept disappearing. Keys, papers, boxes. They'd reappear in my old bedroom, neatly arranged at the foot of the bed, like the house was saying, "Stay here, not there, here." The last night I had a dream. I was a child again, walking through the house, while a voice whispered softly behind me, not threatening, not angry, just pleading, "Don't go." I woke up crying, and for one moment, I almost said yes, almost unpacked, almost gave in to that strange sense of belonging, almost stayed. But I didn't. I locked the house one last time. As I walked away, I swear I felt something inside the walls stretch toward me, like a tether pulling tight. Like the house wasn't haunted by ghosts, it was haunted by loneliness, by the fear of being empty. And sometimes, late at night, when my current home settles and the quiet grows thick, I hear that soft whisper in the dark, "Come back." And part of me wants to. Story 9. I've always been obsessed with haunted places, but there was one story that burrowed under my skin more than any other. Borley Rectory. They called it the most haunted house in England. I never imagined I'd spend a night anywhere like it. Years later, on a trip through the countryside, I stayed in a small inn built near the original rectory site after the original burned down. The owners didn't advertise its history, but the locals remembered. The air there felt heavy, old, like the land itself remembered everything that had happened on it. That night, as I lay in bed, I heard footsteps in the hallway, unhurried, deliberate. I assumed it was another guest until I remembered. I was the only one booked that night. The footsteps stopped outside my door. Silence stretched into forever. Then very softly, someone knocked. Not loud, not aggressive, just patient. I didn't move, didn't answer. The presence lingered there for what felt like hours before finally drifting away, leaving the air colder than before. In the morning, the owner asked casually, "Did you sleep well?" I hesitated. He nodded slowly. "Most people don't. Not there." He wouldn't elaborate. Didn't need to. Some places carry stories in their foundations. Some memories stain deeper than fire. And sometimes, when you sleep near old wounds, you feel them, even if the house itself is gone. Story 10. The real estate agent told us the house was a fixer-upper. She didn't mention the mirrors. There was one in every room, old, heavy, ornate frames that looked hand-carved. They felt out of place, too anchored, too deliberate, like they weren't decoration. They were placement. My reflection always looked a fraction off in them, a half-second behind my movement, eyes that seemed just a shade too dark. Then small differences started appearing. In the bathroom mirror, there was a crack that didn't exist in real life. In the hallway mirror, my reflection stood a little too still. In the bedroom mirror, sometimes it didn't blink when I did. One night, I leaned closer, convinced I was overtired, that my brain was simply misfiring under stress. My reflection leaned closer too. Then it smiled. I didn't. The smile widened, just a fraction too much, and whispered, though my lips never moved, "Let me in." I stumbled backward and covered the mirror with a sheet. The next morning, the sheet was folded neatly on the floor, the mirror bare, waiting. We moved shortly after that. I left the mirrors untouched. But every now and then, when I pass a reflective surface, I check, just to be sure my reflection is still mine, and not something patient, something watching, something waiting for the next house, the next person, the next invitation.